She learned the Duke betrayed her hours before the vows. So she did the unimaginable. 1. The morning of her wedding, Ava Whitcomb woke to sunlight streaming through lace curtains and the sound of birds singing in the garden below. She should have felt joy. She should have felt the flutter of excitement that every bride dreams of. Instead, a strange heaviness pressed against her chest, a weight she could not name. Her wedding gown hung on the wardrobe door, a creation of ivory, silk, and delicate pearls that had taken 3 seamstresses 6 weeks to complete. It was beautiful. Everything about this day was supposed to be beautiful. She was marrying Duke Cedric Vale, the most eligible bachelor in 3 counties, a man who had courted her with poetry and roses, who had kissed her hand beneath the willow tree and promised her a lifetime of devotion. Yet something felt wrong. Ava pushed the feeling aside as her maid, Emma, bustled in with tea and warm bread. There were 100 tasks to complete before noon. Her mother would arrive, soon to help with her hair. The flowers needed to be checked. The guests were already gathering in the chapel. "Miss Ava, you look pale," Emma said, setting the tray down with a concerned frown. "Are you feeling well?" "Just nerves," Ava replied, forcing a smile. Every bride feels nervous. But it was not nerves. It was something deeper, something that had been growing in the shadows of her mind for weeks. Small things that did not quite fit. The way Cedric's smile sometimes failed to reach his eyes. The hushed conversations that stopped when she entered a room. The letter she had found in his study, addressed to her cousin Isabel, that he had explained away as simple family correspondence. Ava dressed slowly, letting Emma lace the corset and arrange the layers of silk. She stared at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. When had she become so pale? When had the light left her eyes? A knock sounded at the door. "Miss Ava, your mother asked that you come to the music room when you are ready," a footman called through the wood. Ava nodded, though he could not see her. She took one last look at herself, picked up her bouquet of white roses and lavender, and walked down the corridor toward the music room. The house was alive with preparation. Servants rushed past with ribbons and candles. The cook shouted orders in the kitchen. Somewhere a violin was being tuned. She turned the corner and heard voices. Low, urgent voices coming from the music room itself. She slowed her steps. The door was slightly ajar, and through the gap, she could see 2 figures standing close together. Too close. Cedric and Isabel. Ava's breath caught. She pressed herself against the wall, hidden by shadow, and listened. "You promised me this would work," Isabel hissed. Her voice was sharp, nothing like the sweet tone she used in public. "You said once you married her, the estate would be yours to manage. You said we would finally have everything." "And we will," Cedric replied. His voice was cold, calculated. "Once the vows are spoken, her father's land passes to me as her husband. The girl is too trusting to question anything I do. Within a year, I will have full control. We can do whatever we wish." Ava's hand flew to her mouth. The bouquet trembled in her grip. But what if she discovers the truth? Isabel pressed. "What if someone tells her about us?" "Who would tell her?" Cedric laughed, a cruel sound that made Ava's stomach turn. "Her father is dead. She has no brothers. Her mother sees only what she wants to see. And you, dear cousin, have played your part perfectly. She trusts you completely." "I still think we should have waited," Isabel murmured. "If she had died in that riding accident last month as we planned, this would all be simpler." Ava's blood turned to ice. The riding accident, the saddle strap that had snapped, sending her tumbling into the ditch. She had thought it was simply bad luck. Old leather, an oversight by the stable boy. But it had been them. They had tried to kill her. "The accident was too risky," Cedric said. "Too many questions. This way is cleaner. Marriage, control, and then, if she becomes inconvenient, well, women die in childbirth all the time. No one questions it." Ava could not breathe. The walls seemed to close in around her. Her vision blurred with tears, but she forced them back. She could not cry. Not here. Not now. She turned and ran. Her feet carried her down the servants' staircase, through the narrow corridors that wound through the back of the house. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she had to get away, had to think, had to find someone who would believe her. She burst through a door and found herself in the steward's office. Gabriel Reed looked up from his desk, surprise clear on his face. He was a tall man with kind eyes and calloused hands, the son of her father's steward, who had taken over the position when his father passed. Ava had known him since childhood, had raced him through the orchards, and stolen apples from the kitchen together. Miss Ava. Gabriel stood immediately, concern flooding his features. What is wrong? She could not speak. The words stuck in her throat like broken glass. She simply stood there, trembling, the bouquet crushed in her white-knuckled grip. Gabriel moved around the desk and gently took her arm. Sit, he said softly, guiding her to a chair. Breathe. Whatever it is, we will manage it. Ava sucked in a ragged breath and forced the words out. They're going to kill me. Gabriel went very still. Who? Cedric. And Isabel. The story spilled from her lips in broken pieces. The conversation she had overheard. The admission of the riding accident. The plan to take her estate and dispose of her when convenient. Gabriel listened without interruption. His face grew harder with each word, but he did not dismiss her or tell her she must have misheard. When she finished, he knelt before her chair so their eyes were level. Do you trust me? He asked. Yes. Then we stop this wedding. Right now. Ava shook her head. If I run, they will know I heard them. They will find another way. Cedric has lawyers and money and influence. I'm just a woman with no proof but my own ears. Then we get proof, Gabriel said firmly. But first we keep you safe. The wedding cannot happen, Ava. We will find a reason to delay it. How? The guests are already here. The chapel is prepared. My mother. Your mother loves you, Gabriel interrupted. She will understand when we tell her the truth. But for now, we need time. Can you pretend to be ill? Ava's mind raced. A fever. I could claim a sudden fever. Good. Gabriel stood and moved to the door. Stay here. Lock the door behind me. I will send for the physician and your mother. No one else comes in. Do you understand? Gabriel, she caught his hand. Thank you. He looked down at their joined hands, then met her eyes. I will not let them hurt you. I promise. When he left, Ava locked the door and sank into the chair. Her wedding gown felt heavy as chains. She stared at the crushed bouquet in her lap and thought of all the promises Cedric had made. Pretty lies wrapped in silk and poetry. 20 minutes later, her mother arrived with the physician, Dr. Harding. Gabriel stood in the doorway, his presence a solid comfort. Ava, darling, what is this about a fever? Her mother asked, pressing a hand to Ava's forehead. Ava met Gabriel's eyes over her mother's shoulder. He gave a tiny nod. Mama, Ava said quietly, I need to tell you something. Something terrible. 2. The physician declared Ava unfit to marry and ordered complete rest. The wedding was postponed. Guests were sent home with apologies and promises of a new date. Cedric played the concerned bridegroom perfectly, pacing outside Ava's door and demanding to see her. Her mother, now armed with the truth, turned him away with cold politeness. Isabel also came, carrying a tray of tea and sympathy. Poor dear Ava, she cooed through the door. You must rest and recover quickly. Cedric is beside himself with worry. Inside the room, Ava sat by the window with Gabriel and her mother. They listened to Isabel's false sweetness and said nothing. She is good at lying, Ava whispered when the footsteps faded. Yes, her mother said tightly. I never saw it. I welcomed her into our home after your father died. I thought she was a comfort to you. She was, Ava admitted. That is what makes it hurt. Gabriel, who had been standing by the door, moved closer. We need a plan. Cedric will not wait forever. He will push for the wedding to be rescheduled quickly. Let him push, Ava's mother said. Her grief had hardened into something sharp and protective. We will buy time and gather evidence. My brother is a magistrate in the north. I will send for him. That will take a week at least, Gabriel pointed out. We need something faster. Ava stood and paced to the window. Below, she could see Cedric talking with Isabel near the garden gate. They stood close, Isabel's hand on his arm, their heads bent together. Even from this distance, Ava could see the intimacy between them. An idea began to form. What if we let them think they have one? She said slowly. Gabriel and her mother both turned to look at her. What do you mean? Her mother asked. They want me to trust them. They want me to be the foolish, naive girl who suspects nothing. Ava's voice grew stronger. So I will be that girl. I will apologize for the delay. I will set a new wedding date. I will play the part they expect. Absolutely not. Gabriel said immediately. That puts you in danger. I'm already in danger, Ava countered. What if they think I suspect nothing? They will grow careless. People who believe they are winning make mistakes. Her mother frowned. It is risky, Ava. So, is waiting. Ava turned from the window. Mama, you said your brother will come. Good. But while we wait for him, we watch them. We document everything. Gabriel, you know this house better than anyone. Can you watch them without being seen? Yes, Gabriel said reluctantly. But I do not like this. Neither do I, Ava admitted. But I will not run from my own home. I will not let them take what my father built. The plan was set. Ava would recover from her mysterious fever and resume wedding preparations. Her mother would write to the magistrate, but tell no one else. Gabriel would become Ava's shadow, watching and listening, gathering any evidence he could find. 3 days later, Ava emerged from her room, pale but smiling. She found Cedric in the drawing room and took his hands in hers. I am so sorry, she said, letting her voice tremble. I did not know what came over me. The physician says it was nerves and exhaustion. Cedric's smile was warm, but his eyes remained cold. My dear, you frightened me terribly. I thought perhaps you were having second thoughts. Neva, avalit. I want nothing more than to be your wife. Then let us set a new date, he said, squeezing her hands. Something soon. I cannot bear to wait much longer. 2 weeks, Ava suggested. That will give me time to regain my strength. 2 weeks, Cedric agreed. He lifted her hand to his lips, and Ava fought not to pull away. I will count every hour. When he left, Ava scrubbed her hands as if she could wash away his touch. That night, Gabriel came to her room through the servants' passages. He knocked softly, and Ava let him in, careful to leave the door slightly ajar for propriety. I found something, he said, pulling a small ledger from his coat. Cedric has been meeting with a lawyer in town. They're drafting papers that would give him complete control of your estate the moment you marry. Ava took the ledger and flipped through the pages. Her father's land, her mother's inheritance, even the small trust her grandmother had left her, all of it would become Cedric's property. There is more, Gabriel said quietly. I spoke with the stable boy. He says Isabel paid him £5 to say nothing about the saddle strap. She told him it was a prank that went wrong. £5 is more than he makes in a year, Ava said. Yes, he is terrified of her, but he will testify if we can promise him protection. Ava closed the ledger. We are building a case. We are, Gabriel agreed. But Ava, you must be careful. Do not be alone with either of them. I will not. She looked at him, really looked at him. In the soft candlelight, she saw the worry etched in his face, the shadows under his eyes. You have not slept. I have been watching the house at night, he admitted, making sure no one enters your room. Something warm and unexpected bloomed in Ava's chest. You have been guarding me. Of course. Gabriel said it, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. Ava, he stopped himself. What? He shook his head. Nothing. Get some rest. I will be near if you need me. But as he turned to leave, Ava caught his hand. Gabriel, wait. He stopped. Thank you, she said softly, for believing me, for helping me, for everything. Gabriel's expression softened. You do not need to thank me for doing what is right. Perhaps not, Ava said. But I want to. They stood there, hands joined, the space between them charged with something neither could name. Then Gabriel gently pulled away and slipped back into the passage, leaving Ava alone with her thoughts and the steady burn of candlelight. 3. The next week passed in a careful dance. Ava played her part with perfect precision. She smiled at Cedric over breakfast. She walked with him in the garden, discussing flowers for the rescheduled ceremony. She sat with Isabel in the parlor, pretending to value her cousin's advice on wedding details. And all the while, Gabriel watched. He discovered that Isabel had ordered a particular tincture from the apothecary in town. A sleeping draught, she claimed, for her headaches. But the dosage she requested was far too high. Dr. Harding confirmed that such an amount could stop a person's heart. She plans to use it on the wedding night. Gabriel told Ava and her mother in the privacy of the locked study. After the vows, when you're legally Cedric's wife and your estate passes to him. Ava's mother paled. That is murder. Yes, Gabriel said grimly. But we cannot prove intent until she uses it. We need to catch them in the act. No, Ava's mother said immediately. I will not risk my daughter's life. We will not risk it, Gabriel assured her. But we can set a trap. Ava leaned forward. What kind of trap? We let the wedding proceed as planned, Gabriel said. But we make changes they will not see. We switch the tincture. We have witnesses in place. And when they try to poison you, we have them. That is too dangerous, Ava's mother protested. But Ava was already nodding. It could work. They will be confident, thinking they have won. They will not expect us to be ready. Ava, Mama, we must end this, Ava said firmly. If we do nothing, they will simply try again later. At least this way, we control when and where. Her mother looked between them, then sighed. Your father would have hated this. Father would have protected his family, Ava said gently. This is how we protect ourselves. Over the next few days, they prepared. Dr. Harding agreed to help, switching Isabel's tincture for harmless water colored with herbs. Ava's uncle, the magistrate, arrived from the north and took a room at the inn under a false name. Gabriel arranged for the local constable to be present, hidden in the house on the wedding night. Through it all, Ava maintained her mask. She laughed at Cedric's jokes. She thanked Isabel for her help. She discussed the menu for the wedding breakfast and the music for the ceremony. But at night, when the house was quiet, she allowed herself to feel the weight of what she was doing. The fear, the anger, the grief for the life she had imagined, the marriage she had dreamed of, now revealed as nothing but smoke and lies. Gabriel found her one evening in the library. She was standing by the window, staring out at the dark garden. You should be resting, he said softly. I cannot sleep, Ava admitted. She turned to face him. What if something goes wrong? What if we do not catch them? What if? We will catch them, Gabriel interrupted gently. He crossed the room and stood before her. Ava, look at me. She met his eyes. You are the bravest person I know, he said. And you are not alone in this. I will be there. Your mother will be there. The magistrate will be there. We will not let them hurt you. You keep saying that, Ava whispered. Why? Why do you care so much? Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because I have loved you since we were children racing through the orchard. Because you have always been kind and good and strong. Because the thought of them hurting you makes me want to tear this house apart with my bare hands. Ava's breath caught. Gabriel, I know I should not say such things, he continued. I'm only a steward. You are a lady. But you asked me why, and I'm giving you the truth. I love you, Ava Wickham. I have always loved you. Tears filled Ava's eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. I thought I was alone in that, she whispered. Gabriel's eyes widened. What? I thought I was the only one who felt it. Ava stepped closer. I told myself it was foolish, that you saw me only as the child you once played with. But Gabriel, I have loved you for years. I agreed to marry Cedric because I thought I could not have you. Because I thought love was supposed to feel like what he offered, grand gestures and pretty words. I did not know it was supposed to feel like this. Like what? Gabriel asked, his voice rough. Like coming home, Ava said simply. Gabriel reached up and cupped her face with gentle hands. After this is over, he said, after we have stopped them and you are safe, may I court you properly? May I ask your mother for permission to win your hand? Ava laughed, a sound of pure joy despite everything. Yes, she said. Yes, you may. He kissed her then, soft and careful, a promise sealed in the quiet of the library while the world slept around them. 4. The day of the wedding arrived for the second time. The chapel was decorated with white roses and candles. Guests filled the pews, whispering behind their hands about the bride who had fallen mysteriously, ill only to recover just as mysteriously. Ava stood in the same room where she had dressed weeks before, wearing the same ivory gown. But everything was different now. She knew the truth. She had a plan, and she was not alone. Her mother helped her with the final touches, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. You do not have to do this, she whispered. We can stop it right now. I want to do this, Ava said. I want them to face what they have done. A knock sounded. Miss Ava, they are ready for you, a footman called. Ava picked up her bouquet, the same white roses and lavender, and walked toward her fate. The ceremony was a blur. She stood beside Cedric and spoke the words that were required. She felt his hand on hers, cold and possessive. She heard the vicar pronounce them husband and wife. And through it all, she kept her eyes on Gabriel, who stood at the back of the chapel in his steward's coat, his gaze steady and strong. The wedding breakfast was held in the grand dining room. Guests ate and drank and toasted the happy couple. Ava smiled until her face ached. Cedric played the devoted husband, touching her arm, whispering in her ear, every gesture a performance for their audience. As the afternoon faded into evening, guests began to depart. Isabel approached Ava with a crystal glass of wine. "For you, dear cousin," she said sweetly, "to help you relax on your wedding night." Ava took the glass. The wine was dark red, and swirling at the bottom was something that did not quite dissolve. The tincture. "Thank you, Isabel," Ava said. She lifted the glass to her lips, but did not drink. "I will save it for later." Isabel's smile tightened. "Oh, but you should drink it now, while it's fresh." "I prefer to wait," Ava said firmly. Cedric appeared at her elbow. "My dear, Isabel has prepared something special for you. It would be rude to refuse." The moment had come. Ava looked between them and saw the calculation in their eyes. They had been patient, but their patience was ending. "Very well," Ava said. She raised the glass in a toast. "To family." "To family," Isabel echoed, her eyes glittering. Ava brought the glass to her lips. She let the wine touch her mouth, then suddenly jerked as if someone had bumped her. The glass tipped, spilling its contents down the front of her gown in a spreading red stain. "Oh no!" Ava cried. "How clumsy of me." Isabel's face went white, then red with fury. "You stupid. What a shame," a new voice said. Ava's uncle, the magistrate, stepped from behind a curtain. With him came the constable and Dr. Harding. Cedric went very still. "What is the meaning of this?" "The meaning," the magistrate said, "is that you are both under arrest for attempted murder." "That is absurd," Cedric said, but his voice lacked conviction. "This is my wedding day. You have no right." "We have every right," the magistrate continued. He gestured to Dr. Harding, who stepped forward with a vial. "This is the tincture that Miss Isabel Wynne obtained from the apothecary. The dosage is lethal. Dr. Harding can testify to that." Isabel lunged for the door, but Gabriel was already there, blocking her path. "The stable boy has also given a statement," Gabriel said calmly, "regarding the payment you made to keep silent about the saddle strap. And I have documented every conversation I overheard," Ava added, pulling a small journal from her sleeve, "including your discussion of my death and childbirth." Cedric's mask finally cracked. His handsome face twisted into something ugly. "You think you're clever?" he spat. "You think you have one? You are nothing. A foolish girl with a moldering estate and no prospects. I could have given you everything. You try to give me death," Ava said quietly. "That is not everything. That is nothing." The constable moved forward with iron restraints. Isabel screamed and clawed, but it was no use. Within minutes, both she and Cedric were bound and being led from the house. As they passed, Cedric looked at Ava one last time. "I could have made you happy," he said. "No," Ava replied. "You could only have made me dead." When they were gone, the room fell silent. Ava's mother rushed forward and pulled her into a fierce embrace. Ava's uncle clasped her shoulder. "Dr. Harding retrieved the spilled wine for evidence, and Gabriel simply stood by the door, watching Ava with eyes full of pride and relief. 3 weeks later, Cedric and Isabel stood trial. The evidence was overwhelming. The stable boy testified. Dr. Harding explained the poison. Ava read from her journal, her voice steady as she recounted their own words condemning them. The jury took less than an hour to return a verdict. Guilty. Cedric was sentenced to transportation. Isabel, being a woman, received a lighter sentence of imprisonment, but her reputation was destroyed. The scandal rippled through society. The duke who tried to murder his bride. The cousin who betrayed her own blood. Ava's name was cleared. More than that, she was celebrated. The brave young woman who had outsmarted a killer. The lady who had refused to be a victim. But Ava cared little for society's opinions. She was simply glad to be alive. 1 month after the trial, Ava stood in the orchard where she had played as a child. Apple blossoms drifted on the breeze, white petals catching in her hair. She wore a simple dress of blue cotton, her feet bare in the grass. Gabriel found her there. He carried 2 cups of cider and a blanket. "I thought you might be here," he said. Ava smiled. "I needed to remember what peace feels like." They sat beneath the oldest tree, the one with initials carved in the bark from decades of sweethearts. Gabriel handed her a cup, and they drank in comfortable silence. "I spoke with your mother," Gabriel said finally. I asked her permission to court you. And what did she say? Ava asked, though she already knew. She said yes. But she also said I should ask you, since you have proven quite capable of making your own decisions. Ava laughed. That sounds like Mama. Gabriel set down his cup and took her hand. Ava Wickham, may I court you? May I earn the right to call you mine? May I spend the rest of my life proving that real love is nothing like the counterfeit you were almost sold? Yes, Ava said. To all of it. Yes. He kissed her there beneath the apple tree, surrounded by blossoms and birdsong. It was nothing like the grand ceremony she had almost endured. There was no audience, no performance. Just two people who had survived darkness together and chosen to walk toward the light. 3 months later, they married. It was a small ceremony in the village church, attended only by close friends and family. Ava wore a dress of pale green, the color of new growth. Gabriel wore his best coat. They spoke vows they had written themselves, promises of honesty and partnership and love that would bend but never break. That night, in the house that was now truly hers, Ava stood at the window of her bedroom and looked out at the stars. Gabriel came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking? He murmured against her hair. I am thinking, Ava said, that I am grateful for the life I was not allowed to live, because it brought me to this one instead. Regret nothing? Gabriel asked. Regret nothing, Ava confirmed. She turned in his arms. Almost died. I almost lost everything. But I did not. And now I have something real. Something true. I have you. Gabriel kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You have me, he promised. For as long as you want me. Forever, then, Ava said. Forever, Gabriel agreed. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. Inside, warmth filled every corner. The threat had passed. The danger was over. And Ava Wickham, who had stared death in the face and refused to blink, finally allowed herself to believe in happy endings. Not the kind found in fairy tales, where princes rode in on white horses and nothing ever hurt, but the kind built brick by brick through choice and courage, through trust earned and love freely given. The kind that lasted. Years later, when people asked Ava about her infamous almost wedding, she would smile and say only this. I learned that the worst betrayal can lead to the greatest blessing. I learned that real love does not announce itself with grand gestures. It shows up in quiet moments and stays when things get hard. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew. And I learned that sometimes the life you were meant to live only begins when the life you planned falls completely apart. And then she would take Gabriel's hand, and they would walk together into whatever came next. Two souls who had been tested and refused to break, who had found each other not in spite of the darkness, but because of it. In the end, that was the unimaginable thing Ava did. She did not run. She did not hide. She did not let fear or betrayal make her smaller. She stood her ground. She fought back, and she chose her own happiness over someone else's plan for her life. And she lived. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this emotional journey. If this story touched your heart, we invite you to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us continue creating more stories of love, redemption, and second chances that matter. At the end of this video, you'll see a suggestion for another of our romantic stories. Click and discover more beautiful tales of courage and connection. With all our gratitude, Duke's Story.